you have a situation where, and it's just unheard of in the municipal environment. A person gets appointed to a position that is the equivalent of other positions, and there are other people that are occupying those positions. This one comes now, umafizolo, literally this is the mafizolo, but then the mafizolo gets to act and be the supervisor of the people that have got more service, more experience, more qualifications, more this, more this, more that. But this person gets to act, and these ones never get to act at all. For as long as Chief Mapia was on leave, was put on special leave, was suspended, one person acted. Council policy on acting is clear. There must be a rotation of acting, but there's no rotation of acting. This person gets favored above everybody else, and there is no rational basis in terms of the institution, in terms of processes of the institution that I can think of that would put the municipal manager in that position where she has to make sure that this one person enjoys protection, enjoys benefits, enjoys everything. There is nothing institutionally. So then it has to be on a personal level. The allegation against me and Chief Mapia is that we are personal against Julius. I don't know how do I become personal chair. I don't even know the man. I've never seen him outside of uniform. I've never seen him outside of uniform. I've never even met him at a funeral, except for a funeral of an Empd official, where even then he's in uniform. But I'm personal against him. I don't even know his stays. I don't even know his family. I know nothing about him, except for the fact that he's an employee of the municipality. But here clearly there is some personal relationship.
Based on what you know.
I'm laughing because did you guys hear the last part of the testimony of Mr. Ngciza there in Madlanga Commission? So the city manager, MKHWANAZI, had extramural activities, I don't know, outside of work hours, which means these people were doing things. I don't know what does that even mean, but you can make your own conclusions because there's a lot of things that fall under the extramural. But what will a man, a gogo's gebengu and booty doing with extramural activities? Were they drinking together or there's something else that they were doing? Because that made me to laugh. I was like, then it makes sense, because some things can make you to do some things. Besides that, Ket Matlala's smartness, I must commend, sir. I must commend, because are you telling me that this man took his cars, donated them to the municipality, used the very same cars that were serviced by the municipality will put petrol, and he will just come there and take those cars, use them, even though he's donated them to them? That doesn't make sense, right? Guess what? That is what Ket Matlala was doing. So while Mogotsi was chowing Ket Matlala was chowing the EMPD. Let us get to the testimony of Mr. Ngciza today at the Madlanga Commission. So basically, Mr. Ngciza was actually, in a way, corroborating the story of Mr. Spies as well as Mr. Mapeyeye. But what he added are some new things about the MOUs and the fact that these memorandum of understandings were illegally concluded.
There is no signed memorandum. There is no memorandum that has been entered into. So this is grossly dishonest in my view, to say that there is a memorandum when such does not exist. The fact that there is a draft is that it's just simply that it's a draft. There is no actual memorandum that existed. But this letter, makes a representation that there is a memorandum of understanding between this company and the municipality when such does not exist.
But it started about with the suspensions, that these suspensions that were given to Mapeyeye and Spies are actually illegal. They were not following the proper procedure of allowing for legal representation. Instead, they would just suspend them without them getting a chance of speaking their side of the story, breaching the Audi alterum partem rule. That's what he spoke about. The second thing that he spoke about was the fact that there was a lot of mistakes and contradicting things in the MOUs. And he pointed out to a lot of things. I'll just play one clip that shows one of the mistakes that they found in the MOUs, especially in relations to Vusumuzi Ket Matlala and what they concluded with Ket Matlala.
Safe to say it's some date in October 2021. But the actual date when these things were supposed to come into effect is not indicated. And also, when you look at it, it says /10/2021, then there's a dash, which in my view would depict the intended conclusion date. Then again, that is not also stipulated, maybe because it was supposed to be an endless working relationship.
And it's not signed even by Mr. Matlala.
That's another thing. That's another thing that is also interesting. This one is a bit worse, because when you look at page 143, you've got support signed, and then page 144, you got approved by Matlala. Then, 145, you got approved by MAPA. So this suggests that the person that was to approve was Matlala before MAPA approved. Such a norm does not exist. It couldn't exist in a government institution. That a simple letter would effectively generate financial implications for the municipality, as I've earlier explained. But nonetheless, his reliance on the letter as well as the memorandum is just,
mind-boggling, as you say.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
As you say.
I mean, none of the documents that he refers to are signed by anybody. I mean, the memorandum is supposedly must be approved by MAPA, but it's not approved by MAPA. You know, the memorandum of agreement is not approved by MAPA. Matlala has not signed his letter of commitment, or so-called donation letter. You know, so even if I was to give him the benefit of the doubt, that would have to be premised on signed documents from authorized people. None of the documents that he gave to the investigator actually have got anybody's signature.
Also, that letter of
And even when they tried to cancel those contracts with Ket Matlala would catch them with those MOUs, despite the fact that they were illegally concluded, but he catch them with that. And I think one of the things he told us was that these MOUs were concluded days before Mkhwanazi even got the promotion. So which means Mkhwanazi knew that he was going to get the promotion, and he then did things before he actually got the promotion that he ended up having.
But both agreements, in respect of the service provider, are represented. The Medicare is represented by Mark van Veek. The Cat VIP protection is represented by Vusumuzi Matlala. You know, that's one of the things that you just pick up about the crisis that this thing was. But the Cat VIP one, similarly, the signature of Dade Mkhwanazi as the Director of Specialized Services with a date. And interestingly, Commissioners, when one has due regard to the date, that is on page 143, then you look at that in relation to the letter on page 54. You know, this was purportedly signed by Brigadier Mkhwanazi on the 13th. Now, I am aware that Brigadier Mkhwanazi was then appointed on the 15th of October 2021 to act as the Deputy Chief of Police Operations. So, this purportedly was signed 2 days before he acted in the position. And it's a funny coincidence. He gets appointed to act on the 15th, and then on the 16th he issues a letter that there's a relationship. You know, and when you look at that relationship is based on a memorandum of agreement that is only signed by himself, purportedly 3 days before he issued the letter.
Not just that, he spoke about this one that I started with, that Vusumuzi Ket Matlala will actually say he's donating cars to the municipality, but in turn use the very same cars, especially from the email that was sent by Jeff Wicks.
Exclusively shows that these vehicles were utilized by the donor. So there is no benefit that the institution then derived from the donation. You know, I make the example, Commissioner, that if I'm to give you my laptop and donate my laptop to you, and then we input your details on the laptop so that the digital footprint is Umadlanga, but then I retain the laptop. I continue to use the laptop. So if tomorrow there are issues that arise out of the laptop, the digital footprint will say, well, Madlanga's laptop did this, you know, but I continue to use the laptop. So whose laptop is it? You know, so was there a donation?
So this guy was crazily smart when it came to the municipality. And then Mrs. Linda Xesheka, I just don't understand how she didn't woman up against the city manager. But at the same time, with the high employment rate in South Africa, people do the most craziest stuff for them to keep their job.
My understanding of Ms. Xesheka and her tenure as the head of department HR, which would have commenced when her predecessor left the institution, I think it was at the end of July 2022, and then Ms. Xesheka was appointed to act in the position from August 2022 until the 28th of February. She was acting, and then she got appointed from the 1st of March. There is no other rational basis that I can think of that would make her, as an HOD HR, you know, to act in the manner in which she acted, except for her fear of marshals. Because that is how she has always addressed herself.
That's exactly what I want you to address. On the basis of what you know, do you think that the manner in which she acted was indeed motivated by her fear for Ms. Mashazi?
Nothing else.
Thank you.
So I think that Ms. Xesheka, she just didn't want to lose her job, and I just think that we should cut her some slack. But I also think that in the process of trying to save her job, she did a lot of illegalities that put her in trouble, in my view. And I think that just that in and of itself makes you wonder, like, what more has she done for her to keep her job? Because she knew that this man was dangerous, and she knew that if she does anything against this man, including suspension, she'll get in trouble. Hence, it was hard for her to suspend MKHWANAZI because she didn't want to be shouted at. She wanted to keep her job.
Report onto the allegations that were leveled against Brigadier MKHWANAZI. We went through the report, and of course, I engaged them on the context to say, but, we're talking about this letter of October 2021, what are the issues? And then I approved that the disciplinary tribunal be constituted, because in my view, the investigation report ticked the relevant boxes that would convince an HR practitioner that there is a basis for this employee to answer to these allegations that have been leveled. So indeed, after we had consulted, I appended my signature to the disciplinary tribunal initiation form, and then we also then discussed how to handle the process. They raised issues with me to say, as much as they had briefed me on several occasions around the matters that concern MKHWANAZI, Mackenzie, Stolz, and Twala, and there was also some process that had started with regards to the other three. They indicated that IPID was confident and convinced that there were imminent arrests that would be made, which would include Brigadier MKHWANAZI. So they requested that instead of proceeding, as much as I've approved the disciplinary tribunal, but I must provide them and provide IPID with an opportunity to conduct these other processes, and then we'll then assess the situation if indeed there are arrests that are made.
Things we do to keep our jobs, guys, we even advance and protect corruption.
The Empd, which would be the chief of police, my superior, which would be the HR, and the city manager brought any inquiry into Brigadier MKHWANAZI to a halt.
Thank you. And Mr. Mniza, do you know if these charges against Brigadier MKHWANAZI were at any point ever served on him, or an attempt was made to revive or resuscitate this process? I ask the question mindful of the fact that you left in March 2024. At that point of departure, were you ever aware of an attempt to revive or to attempt to reserve the charges on the Brigadier?
I need to correct the point about when did I leave. I was suspended effectively on the 7th of September 2023, and I was rendered a persona non grata. There was a directive issue that not even a single person was to speak to me from the municipality, let alone from my division. I was even actually, I even raised an issue to say, I was told that I must not even go to municipal offices even to pay for my rates and taxes. So that ordeal didn't just happen in March 2024. But coming back to your question, nothing has ever happened to Brigadier MKHWANAZI. Nothing.
That you were aware of, up to and including your point of termination?
Nothing.
Thank you.
Instead of something happening, he got promoted. Something happened.
And criminality, just because we want to keep our jobs. I don't know. I wish to hear from her as to what motivated her to do that. Has she ever been threatened that she ended up feeling like, you know what, I rather do or be on the side of the city manager MKHWANAZI than for me to discipline this member? Because this guy, when he was suspended, the city manager went crazy. Was like, what?
We must leave Julius alone. I'm like, no, what is this about? No, Julius, you're not going to extend his suspension. We're not only, you must stop this thing of yours. Like, oh, firstly, I explained to her that, but firstly, I don't take decisions about suspensions or extensions. Mine is to advise upon receiving a request from a department. Mine is to advise the person that must take that decision, which is the shadow. Well, she was like, no, you are lying. You are the one that take these decisions. Linda just simply signs. Okay, but that's not how the process works. And I was told that I was targeting Brigadier MKHWANAZI. I was personal towards him. And Commissioner, honestly, this was not a calm discussion. My boss is effectively shouting at me and lambasting me. Then she told me during that particular call that when
Please translate that for our...
You think this is your municipality? Yeah, like, I don't understand. How do I think this is my municipality? Yeah, you think you can do anything you want in the municipality. My attempts, of course, of trying to calm down Dr. Mashazi didn't succeed. She was genuinely angry.
The city manager was not happy that he even shouted at Mr. Ngciza to say, why did you suspend my man?
Of that, where there is a rational disposition that exists for the municipal manager to intervene, based on the merits of the case, then indeed one would say that the municipal manager then would be within her rights to then intervene and stop a suspension. But that was not the case in this instance. As the Commissioner had previously asked whether indeed there was a discussion on the merits, there was none. So that disposition then would not apply in this instance, where we would expect that a municipal manager would deem it fit to intervene.
So when the municipal manager says Lemotlokhele Julius, did you understand that to relate only to the suspension or the entire process? In other words, the investigation and the initiation of the disciplinary process and the appointment of the panel, as you said. What did you understand that to mean, Lemotlokhele Julius?
At that point in the discussion, this is before, of course, other processes that would then follow subsequent to this discussion. The discussion was narrow in the sense that it was about Julius coming back to work. There shall be no extension of the suspension. So in a narrow sense, one just took it that this is about the suspension. And therefore, let me just leave it at that. There was no specific instruction issued regarding the disciplinary case itself.
The reason I'm asking you this is if you go 6 paragraphs back in paragraph 42, you say, after the discussion amongst ourselves, I made a decision to constitute a disciplinary tribunal.
Yes.
Now, let's go back to my question. So it's not just the suspension, it's also the constitution of a tribunal and other things. Now, when she said to you, Lemotlokhele Julius, did you understand that to mean don't extend the suspension but continue with the constitution of the tribunal and other things?
I understood it to mean don't extend the suspension. Remember, I have never discussed with the city manager the issue of the constitution of the disciplinary tribunal. Even during the course of this conversation, there was no engagement about the disciplinary tribunal at all.
Those were wondering who's Mr. Ngciza. So Xolani Ngciza is the former divisional head employee relations director at the city of Ekurhuleni, and he also was suspended because of him following up on everything that has been going on with MKHWANAZI. Despite MKHWANAZI trying to befriend him and trying to speak to him to say that these ones, they are on to me, my PA and spies or spies, they are on to me. Still Mogai was convinced that this man is not as innocent because of the emails that he's received, even from Jeff Wicks connecting him to Vusumuziket Matlala, a very dangerous man, from what was even explained by Qesheka.
Tried to engage me to say, no, Xolani, these guys signed documents that they're now accusing me of. So like, no, these guys have signed, but they want to fire me for what they've already signed. So I avoided the engagement. I was like, okay, it was a con. I didn't want to engage. Remember, I was aware of what is contained in the investigation report, and as a matter of principle, I do not engage with employees that are the subject of either disciplinary hearing or investigation on the contents of that particular process. So I was like, no, just downplayed it, and he was on his way to see Qesheka at the time. And I just politely sort of disconnected and went on my way, and I didn't want to engage him on the substance of the matter.
This testimony then was wrapped up by the witness talking about the relationship, because Matlanga asked about the relationship that these two people have, but it was not disclosed what type of these extramural activities are. But hey, you guys can make your own conclusions. I mean, I don't want to be sued, allegedly.
I wanted to also include Ms. Qesheka, but I'm not sure whether I should, because at some stage you said that she didn't want to be shouted at and wanted to see the finalization of the DC process without a hearing having taken place. So maybe let me leave her out of the equation for a moment. So why do you think, on the facts that you know, the city manager was as invested as she was in Brigadier MKHWANAZI?
Thank you, Chair. I think, Chair, there's a point, I think it was I'm not sure it was yesterday or early this morning, when I had to give a view on the proximity claim. And I indicated that when you look at the hierarchical arrangement of the municipality, there shouldn't be a proximity between the two individuals. But nonetheless, that proximity does exist. And perhaps one would have to then investigate what informs this proximity. Because this proximity, in my view, is what then informs the municipal manager's attitude, the municipal manager's conduct when this individual is involved. When this specific individual is involved, there's a number of matters that we've dealt with this municipal manager. A number of matters, including HODs, including other people that were even in her office, directly in her office. But this was unprecedented. And the only thing that one can opine is that it is unprecedented, and it is the type of conduct is informed by things that are extra. Is there extra organizational? There's extramural activities, So there's something that is beyond organizational arrangements that, in my view, exist between Mashazi and MKHWANAZI.
They have those type of things. So I don't know what type of those activities. As I've said, you make your own conclusions. I don't know what you guys think about today's testimony. I felt like there was just there's not many new things. It's just saying some of the things that we've already heard from the two EMPD former employees, and he's also a former employee. I just am waiting for people that are current employees. I don't know, did you guys enjoy today's proceedings at Madlanga? Please comment your thoughts. If I've left anything out, add on the comment section down below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on my next upload. Bye.